University, Barcelona University, Alla Sharokova Manno. So she is going just to present the lecture today. I think that we'll be happy to listen to her right now. Okay, so she will tell more about this lecture.
Okay, so shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, dear colleagues, dear students, it's truly an honor to be with you today at the opening of the International Conference of Linguists, Educators, and Translators. Despite the distance of 3,000 kilometers, the coordinates of my mind and soul coincide with journey, my hometown, and Yuri Fitkovich National University, my alma mater. Personally, I find the theme of the conference, Navigating Linguistics, very appropriate. We may consider the intricate web of linguistic systems, where languages intersect, diverge, and evolve, shaping the way we communicate and understand the world around us. Just as a navigator relies on navigation tools to chart their course, linguists and translators rely on methodological frameworks to guide their practice. Having sailed through many conceptual seas with my all-time favorite, poetry translation and reception theory of literary translation, having stopped at a few ports of research, my alma mater, Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv, Penn State University, and now my current port, the Autonomous University of Barcelona, I can say that I finally dropped my scholarly anchor in the harbor of methodology. Being born, raised, and educated in the 20th century, I witnessed a move from teacher-centered explanatory instruction to interactive, student-centered learning. Whereas now I can state that student empowerment has become one of the cornerstones of modern education. This suggests both the process and the result of endowing students with the authority to make decisions about their own education, to exercise their freedom as creative individuals, and ultimately to find their own voice in the polyphony of cooperative setting. We can't agree more with the statement that an empowered student is the main shareholder of the global community's future. Therefore, in order to gain a competitive edge in the market of professional training, the institutions of higher education have to incorporate interesting and useful courses into their curriculum that would serve the learners' needs and also prepare them for the successful entry into their career. With this end in mind, as a professor of the Department of the Theory and Practice of Translation from English at Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv, I elaborated a number of courses which hopefully boosted students' enrollment rate. And one of them was on translation project management. Well, briefly, it's an interdisciplinary blend of project management, translation theory and practice, and information technologies that enriches the novice translator's portfolio of skills with those of effective time managers, leaders, and of course, project managers. Not only did students internalize the core principles of project management with its cycle, approaches, tools, and potential pitfalls, but they also managed to make their contribution into the realm of translated literature, for example, their Ukrainian translations of New York Times bestseller Dave Barry's Complete Guide to Guys, Irma Bombeck's All I Know About Animal Behavior I Learned in Dressing Room, Mitch Albom's Tuesdays with Maury, and their English translation of the book of philosophical essays, Чарунки Долі, as they translated Meshes of Fate by Vachtank Kibuvadze. I remember one of my favorite teachers used to say that if you have to make things complicated, try to make them beautifully complicated. So to make my life beautifully complicated, well, and of course, primarily for personal reasons, about 5 years ago, I moved to Barcelona, Spain, where I am now. So having resigned from one of the most prestigious jobs in Ukraine, in my native country, this move could have proven to be professionally devastating. If, quoting Steve Jobs, I hadn't known exactly what I loved and what I wanted to do. I must say that it had taken me an incredible amount of time and effort to get all the homologation paperwork done, to learn Spanish from scratch, from 0 to C1 level, and to master Catalan, before I was able to re-enter the world of academia. You know, I really don't want to seem superstitious or touchy-feely, but probably a week before I got a job offer as a professor of English and translation at the Autonomous University of Barcelona, I had seen my beloved mentor in my dreams, the late Bялик Васильович Дмитрович, who gave me a hug and told me, "You're back." And I was back. I'm back, which means that things keep getting more and more beautifully complicated or just challenging. So a few words about the university where I'm currently employed. So the Autonomous University of Barcelona is relatively young. It's public and really groundbreaking university. It is internationally renowned for its quality and innovation in research, and it continues to rank first among universities in Spain for the second consecutive year, and it reaches the position of 149 globally, which places the Autonomous University of Barcelona in the top 10% of the world's universities. The Department of Translation and Interpreting, which I'm proud to represent today, was the first of the kind in Spain and probably one of the first in Europe. It was founded in 1972. It offers the largest scope of language options in Spain, 14, so English, French, definitely German, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, Japanese, Korean, modern Greek, Catalan, of course, and others. And I will do my best to make sure that the Ukrainian language is incorporated into the curriculum and into the program. Well, speaking of the programs, one of the most popular programs is the university's master degree in audio-visual translation, which was also the first academic program to offer audiovisual translation and accessibility in Spain. And again, it was one of the first in Europe. It provides training both in well-established areas of audiovisual translation, like dubbing, subtitling, voiceovers, and accessibility, audio description for people with vision impairment, subtitling for the deaf, and speech recognition for subtitling, and also newer areas of audiovisual translation, like the translation of video games, risk speaking, and others. And of course, that offers students a diversity of professional career options. The students have a choice of the language they want to translate into. It could be Spanish or Catalan, and also the mode of study. So it can be face-to-face or online. Another program worth mentioning is the master's degrees in conference interpreting, which was also the first to be offered in the country. It allows students to acquire practical professional skills gradually within an academic setting and provides them with the regular and direct contact with the reality of the profession. With the support from the European Commission's Common Conference Interpreting Services and also the Office of Language Interpretation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, students are offered teaching assistance, periodic online classes, and, which is really important, study visits to Brussels, and also including interpreting internship there. The department's really exceptional equipment is unique in Europe. So here we have 3 fully digitalized interpreting halls with 53 simultaneous interpreting cabins, which of course allows students to practice in real life situations with video, audio material and different support forms. As to the teachers, as to the lecturers, almost all of them are active conference interpreters, most of them members of the International Association of Conference Interpreters, and they have special accreditations by the main European institutions. Upon completion of the program, which is also important, graduates are prepared and are entitled to work not only as interpreters, but also as civil servants once they have passed all official exams, well, and there are quite a few of them, in public institutions and international organizations, such as the United Nations, the European Parliament, the European Commission, Council, and etc. Well, and probably the leader is the master's degree in tradomatics. So that's the translation technologies. And it has been an internationally renowned program since its first edition in 2001. And it's also a member of the European Masters in Translation Network. The program provides students with comprehensive training that enables them to manage multilingual projects, to master technologies most commonly used in translation industry, to translate digital products, localized video games, websites, apps, and software, to discover the challenges of localization engineering, benefit from machine translation and post-editing options, design and manage graphic files, manage all types of translatable formats, and supervise the quality of translation projects. Over 90% of our students lingual language project management, freelance translator, in-house translator, localization engineer, and IT manager, head of machine translation systems, post-editing of computer-assisted translations, quality proofreader, and technical verifier. Well, from what I can tell, in Spain and in Autonomous University of Barcelona in particular, the approach to translation training is characterized by its very, very practical orientation. I really like this 80-20 rule. So I would say that 20% of training provided is theoretical, whereas 80% is practical. So the approach is grounded in hands-on experience and real-world application. Well, we may consider the course that I've been teaching since the beginning of the semester. So the introduction to translation from English into Spanish. Here, the students are immersed in the practice of translation from the outset, tasked with translating a wide range of text from literary works to technical documents, and each of them with its unique linguistic challenges. really much attention is paid to linguistic and cultural similarities and differences between English and Spain. The curriculum is designed to be holistic, covering a wide range of competencies which are essential for successful translation practice. In addition to mastering the methodological principles that govern translation, from lexical to morphosyntactic analysis, the students move on to understand the dynamic nature of translation equivalence, or I would say reliability, the term which is more often used now. Through a combination of exercises, translation tests, and projects, students learn to navigate the challenges of translation, honing their ability to solve a wide range of problems and translation problems, and to utilize technological resources effectively. From the student's perspective, well, which I also think is really very important, the professor, the teacher, the instructor is always one of us and not the other. And the instructor's role, my role, is mostly to facilitate the group work and always to provide a constructive feedback, and of course to guide students in the process of learning. The spillover benefit of this course is its focus on enhancing translation majors' professional pride, which is achieved by cultivating in them a sense of belonging to the global community of translators. Well, for example, as a part of their home assignments, the students may be asked to interview practicing translators or interpreters and to find out about their experience, challenges encountered, emotional and financial burden, which is also important, and satisfaction. Well, and then the results are further presented and discussed in class and also online forums. So this practical knowledge helps students to be competitive as soon as they enter the labor market. And for us educators to be competitive, I'm sure it is necessary to incorporate into curriculum courses that would expand the learner's range of academic experience and professional expertise by very difficult word, decompartmentalization of education in an interdisciplinary environment, focusing on student empowerment, collaborative professional realism, and outcomes-based approach. The universities are expected to meet their graduates' needs by fostering in them intellectual capacities and a professional perspective, which is commensurate with the role of a translator under the changing, precarious circumstances. Well, and in closing, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizers of the conference for providing us with this invaluable opportunity to come together and exchange ideas. So let us seize this opportunity to learn from one another, to challenge our assumptions, to chart a course towards a brighter future for the field of translation and linguistics, which is definitely going to be our contribution to the long-awaited victory of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Heroям Slava, thank you very much for this exciting lecture, for this exciting glimpses of how the students are trained in translation in other countries, in other universities. And it was just a pleasure just to have you as a lecturer on the one hand, and on the other hand, to see that in many aspects, we do the same here. In many aspects, we can just trace the same things here. Okay, so I would like simply just, I think that the rest of my colleagues and my younger colleagues, students also will ask some questions later on. You see, so but I would just a zapping power or so whatever, you see. So because I was just the first to speak, so that's why I would like to ask you some questions.
Sure.
For example, when you speak about this conference interpreting and translation training in general, you see, so how many students? How many students?
Yes, I can tell you. So if I'm not mistaken, so overall, so we have 1,400 students this year. 1,500.
Those who are in translation, yeah.
Yes, those who are in translation, right. But if we speak about this specially digitalized auditoriums or halls, so since there are 53 cabins, so therefore normally there are, and actually the groups are pretty big. So there are many students, so usually for 50, so it's enough. We usually have one cabin for one person.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions, please, my colleagues? You see, so Nastya.
Hello, I'm interested in courses you teach. What courses do you teach?
Yeah, so actually my main course is English for translation majors, and I definitely enjoy it. So because it is really very, very focused on translation. So whatever we study every time, so well, we see the correlation, how this material can be related to translation, right? Well, even if we're just reading a book, every time how we would translate, and sometimes we do have some exercises on translation into Spanish and into Catalan. So therefore the instructor is supposed to have at least C1 level of these two languages. So it is, well, very, very professional oriented approach to language teaching. So for example, one of the aspects that we are covering is accents. You know, in the beginning I thought, why do they need that? They first have to learn how to speak well. Of course, they are not supposed to use these accents when they speak, but they are expected to recognize them, because as the interpreters, very often, well, young interpreters, novice interpreters might be overwhelmed by the accents that they haven't heard before. So, or we have other exercises like, well, exams, they call it, every time they call it an exam, although it's just a regular assignment. Summaries. So they write lots of summaries, and every time we do something, we explain why they need it, right? So, well, if it is listening summary, well, we learn how to take notes. So note taking is also taught through English, right? And the other course that I have mentioned, so this is the introduction into translation from English into Spanish. Well, by the way, that's interesting because anyway, when I was in charge, right? Well, when I was told that I'm in charge of that course, I thought, I can't believe it. I really can't believe it, because only 4 years ago, the only thing that I could say in Spanish was "me llamo Ala." That's it, you see? But then, of course, I had a very, very intense education. I got all this certificate. By the way, one thing which I kind of dislike about life here is bureaucracy. I would say that my native country, so Ukraine, is so much democratic and liberalized in comparison with the red tape. So whatever you have here, whatever you do, you have to provide a certificate, right? So anyway, so thanks to this certificate, I was able to teach this course, right? So translation from English into Spanish. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's interesting. So, any other questions? So welcome, please. So this is an ample opportunity to find out lots of things about Spain, about training of interpreters and teaching, interpreting, and learning interpreting and its translation. You see.
I have a question, if I may. So hello once again. I have a question. If you could elaborate on so you mentioned that you like in teaching translation, you like dedicate 20% to theoretical part and 80% to the practical one, and a lot of like the whole course offers a hands-on experience. Can you elaborate on what that entails, please?
So like I said, that so students are exposed to various types of texts. So first they are given the text to translate. So they try, well, very often we have the official translation of the text. So first they try to do what they can. So then we discuss what they have done. Then we compare with the official translation and think, well, sometimes, by the way, the solutions of the students are much better. And then I would say, so because I'm sure that things have changed since last time I taught in Ukraine, but I remember that at least at my former place of employment, we really dedicated much time to theory. We had lots of theoretical courses, right? And actually, which was great because, well, I also agree with this approach because students are supposed to have universal education. So they have to understand what they are doing. And it is really very important. And here in Spain, well, you can introduce theory mostly like, by the way, so you're so right. And you, the NIDA, would call that what you have just done, dynamic equivalence. And, you know, students would remember that, right? Or anyway, when we would speak about cultural similarities and differences, and students would share their experience, so their previous experience of translating or based on this particular text. And then I would introduce a little bit, by the way, you heard, so there is such a theory of linguistic relativity, and they listen and they remember. So this is interesting because first the idea is to create the need. And when they know why they need it, so there is a reason why, they tend to remember better. But, well, as to this, I'm sure that the correlation of theory and practice changes depending on the program. So now, well, my course is for bachelors, right? So they are undergraduate students and they are not supposed to know too much of theory, but it is absolutely different for masters. Masters are supposed to do it. So, well, the idea of undergraduate program to prepare fully fledged translators who can do their job really very well. Masters is a little bit different level. So, and here I would say theoretical approach becomes a little bit more prominent. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Siso. And one more question: do the students have translation, interpreting practice? You see, so do they have one practice or do they have many of them? You see, so like right. 2 of them or so 3 of them?
Yes, they have, actually the university has signed lots of agreements, and the students can have internship not only in their country, but also in other countries. So we have signed maybe 200 agreements with various universities, so students have a choice, and probably something that everybody wants to participate and all students have a chance to do it. So they have internship in Brussels. So they go to Brussels and they interpret, well, at certain levels, of course, not at the highest levels, well, that they can observe, they can watch. So yeah, they have this.
So this is very topical for us as well, you see, because pretty soon on Monday, you see, there will be a person, another lecturer, who will speak about EU standards, you see, and who was in Brussels, was on that internship, and she will share her experience with us. See, I think that we are doing the same thing, and probably, I believe that pretty soon our teachers and our students will go to Brussels too, because from Frankivsk, from Ternopolis, they go to Brussels there, and they have this practice, internship or whatever it's called. You see, so I think the time, our time is over. We are out of time because you planned 30 minutes. So I would like to express our deep gratitude on behalf of all those present here. If you have any questions, so quickly, some questions, you see, if you have. If not, then you will write. You will write, you see, on email or whatever, you see, so and then we'll try to find out. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much. So I give you a big hug.
It was just a pleasure to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.